Good morning everybody, and welcome to Golf Drills in the Snow. I mean in the lounge, sorry. Fantastically beautiful day here at West Hill Golf Club today. The good news for you is that you wouldn't have been able to play golf anyway today. The second piece of good news is I'm still going to give you something really good that you can work on in your lounge. And the third piece of good news is that when I finish this little clip, I'm going to give you a lovely panoramic shot of how beautiful the golf course looks today, so you can enjoy the beauty of West Hill whilst being in the warmth of your lounge. So, I've got a really interesting one to talk to you about today, and that's how I can help you with your chips and short pitches with something we've already discussed. So in the video number 3, I talked about how to train the correct use of your wrists in the golf swing. And I talked about how the wrist hinge should always be a vertical move, as if you're banging a nail down into a piece of wood. And we talked about how people get into all sorts of problems when their wrists do what I call a bowing action rather than a hinging action, because it can cause the club to get too flat and round behind you, whereas the correct hinge will always feel vertical, but it doesn't look vertical because you're turning at the same time. So I'm going to show you how this can apply to chipping and pitches today. And one of the subscribers on my channel asked about how you chip or hit short pitches from thick rough, and this will help with that as well. So the key thing is with chipping and pitching is that you can, if you choose to, hinge your wrists earlier in the backswing than you would in a normal full golf swing. The reason we don't like to see it in a full swing is because if you hinge your wrists too early, it causes lack of rotation of the body and lack of power. But because you don't need much power for short chips and pitches, the earlier hinging will simply make a steeper angle of attack down into the ball. Now if your ball is sitting in thick rough, you don't want a shallow angle of attack, which means the club would be coming through lots of thick grass before it reached the ball. This would apply to a short shot out of heather as well. If you get the club coming down more steeply, it can get down into the back of the ball without having to travel through all of that thick rough. However, most people get scared of the idea that if they see the club head going out here, they think that it must be a detachment of the arms away from the body and an out to in swing. However, I can do this, look, with still turning in a perfect circle. So if that's my ball to target line, I'm still turning club, arms and chest in a perfect circle, which would go inside to square to inside. However, all I'm doing is I'm hinging my wrists early. So instead of hinging them at 3 o'clock, I can experiment in my lounge at home what it feels like if I start to hinge them vertically at 1 o'clock, or if I turn a bit further and I start to hinge them vertically at 2 o'clock. So basically you're incorporating that vertical wrist hinge into a rotation of the body, and you can choose to do it whenever you like. If I did it at 1 o'clock, it would look like this, look. So I start to, or if I do it a little bit later at 2 o'clock, and all that's doing is giving me a steeper angle of attack to help me come down crisply into the back of the ball, but still turning to get a lovely angle that's not going to dig down deep into the ground. Very, very simple thing. It's actually a technique you can use with play out of plugged bunker lies as well, when you need to come down into the ball without hitting the sand too early, to just hit maybe an inch behind the ball. Have an experiment with it. What you'll start to find when you come out and try it on the golf course is that you'll feel that it will produce a softer shot, because you tend to get your hands sliding under the ball a bit more with a bit less power in the body, whereas a more stiff-wristed action, which involves more body rotation, will give you a lower, more penetrating shot. So it's a way you can experiment with feel once you get out here, but the important thing that you can do in the lounge is to get the feeling of this vertical wrist hinge whilst rotating your body, and start to feel that that club head is steeper and more in front of you rather than trapped behind you in a very difficult position to come crisply into the ball for your chips and short pitches. So have fun, and now let's have a look at how beautiful West Hill looks. See you tomorrow.